Hey YouTube, Ed here with Jack of all trades, and welcome back to another video. So, since the inception of firearms, shooters have been making their own bullets and ammunition for years. It largely started off in the beginning as necessity, and then as time went on, people started reloading for other reasons. So with all that being said, let's take a few minutes and talk about why we reload today and what you need to do to get started in the reloading game. And welcome back. So let's talk about why we reload today. But before we do that, if you would please do me the solid of hitting that like and subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified of upcoming videos. It would really be greatly appreciated. I never ever ask you guys for money. I don't have a Patreon account, and the only support I ever ask for is for you to hit that like and subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it really does ultimately help out the channel. So like I said in the intro, shooters have been making their own bullets and ammunition for years, and it largely started off in the beginning. It was necessary. Back when flintlock rifles were being made, guns were handmade by very skilled craftsmen, gunsmiths, and they were literally being forged out of wrought iron with hammer, anvil, swedge block, heat, and a lot of sweat and a lot of blood and a lot of skill was gone into making these rifles. But as they were completely made by hand, the uniformity of caliber on rifles was pretty much impossible. I mean, a 35 caliber rifle made by one gunsmith might not be quite the same as a 35 caliber made by another gunsmith, or 50 caliber, or whatever size bullet they were using. So oftentimes when gunsmiths made a gun, they also made bullet molds to match that gun so that you could cast the correct size ball that specifically went with your rifle. And shooters had to make their own rifle projectiles out of necessity because every gun was essentially different. Now later on, as time went on and as the Industrial Revolution came around and things to that effect, rifles and muskets were made with more modern manufacturing techniques, and uniformity of caliber was more easily accomplished. And as a result of that, a lot of times you could buy the rifle balls and the muzzleloader balls and things like that at your dry goods store, at your local mercantile, or your outfitters. However, people were often still making their own projectiles, again, out of cost savings and convenience. It might be several miles to the dry goods store and to saddle up the horse and ride into town to pick up what you needed. It might not have been too terribly convenient, but as long as you had lead and the ability to make fire, you could cast your own bullets. And they still did that. Then, as metallic cartridges were invented, reloading ammunition was brought into the fold again out of concern for cost. Usually that's always a factor. Necessity, and again, convenience. It was really a matter of survival at that point. If you didn't have ammunition, you didn't put food on the table, and you didn't protect your farm, and you didn't protect your family. So making it was oftentimes the way they accomplished that. The process of reloading metallic cartridges obviously started off very, very simple, as all things do, but it also fulfilled a very important purpose. It wasn't really until the way tail end of the 19th century and into the 20th century where shooters started to reload for other reasons. Shooters today reload for several reasons, first of which would be reliability. Now, back when metallic cartridges were first introduced, reliability was actually a bit of a concern. But now, as manufacturing techniques and processes have gotten better and better and better, ammunition reliability is actually very, very good. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is still being made by machines. And hand loading your own ammunition, or as some guys like to call it, rolling your own ammunition, is one way to ensure the highest level of quality control so that when you squeeze the trigger on your gun, it's going to go bang when you want it to. Availability. There's another reason to reload. Now, in our current political and cultural climate, everybody knows it's increasingly difficult to find the ammunition that you need on the shelves in the store. And reloading your own spent casings is one way to ensure that you continuously will have ammunition to shoot. Oftentimes the components are available, whereas the finished ammunition is not. So making your own is definitely one way to go. Especially availability if you're shooting odd or obsolete or strange calibers. I'll reference the 250-3000 Savage. That's actually a cartridge that I truly love. I love that cartridge, dear in my heart. But you can't hardly buy ammo for it. There's only two companies that are currently making it, Hornady and Remington. They're only producing it in 100 grain projectile ammunition because typically the 250-3000 is found in a Model 99 Savage lever gun, and that's as big a bullet as the rate of twist in those guns will handle. But I digress. So really, if you can't find it, which it is exceedingly hard to find, your only option is to make your own. Hornady and Remington only run that ammunition when they have enough orders to justify retooling the factory. And eventually it's going to come to the point where they're just going to stop making it because there just aren't that many rifles out there shooting that ammunition. And there are certainly no manufacturers of firearms out there right now that are currently chambering that gun in that caliber. If you are getting a new one, you are a gunsmith or some type of hobby gunsmith, and you've made that rifle yourself. So those obscure calibers or those odd or obsolete calibers, reloading ensures the fact that you can still shoot those rifles. Accuracy. Competition shooters have long since discovered that precision shooting requires precision ammunition. It kind of goes without saying. And it needs the highest level of quality and the highest level of consistency. A shooter can reload ammunition very precisely. You can experiment with bullet weights, bullet styles, bullet manufacturers. You can experiment with different powders, different reloading techniques to fine-tune and tweak that ammunition specifically for a certain firearm to make that firearm shoot as good as humanly possible. And they've discovered that a long time ago, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people do reload. And then finally, a lot of people just reload out of sheer enjoyment, and I'm one of them. I love to sit down at the reloading bench and knock out some ammunition and then go to the range and punch out the center of the bullseye, or take it in the field and take a game animal with that ammunition that I made. There's something oddly and uniquely fulfilling about accomplishing a task with something that you've made, and ammunition is no different. All right, with all that out of the way, let's talk about how to get started in reloading. Something that you wanted to do maybe is to start reloading. So let's talk about what you need first to reload. And quite obviously, the first thing you need to really discuss is your consumables. What are your consumables? Well, there's four. You need brass or spent casings or spent cartridges. And that is a consumable because you can only reload those brass cartridges so many times, and you will have stretched them out beyond the limits of what they can continue to be reloaded at, or they may fail, or they may just no longer be usable for some reason or another. Brass will eventually be used up, and you have to get rid of it and get new brass. Primers. That's another consumable. You have to knock out the old primers because they're a one use only, and then push in new ones every time you reload. Quite obviously, powder is a consumable. And ultimately, bullets are a consumable. Unless you're literally digging the ammunition or the bullet out of the tree, it's a consumable. But bullets are definitely a consumable. Then you've got your equipment. You will need some very specific equipment to reload. First and foremost, the heart of any reloading operation is the press. And there are literally innumerable numbers of presses out there that you could use. Old presses, new presses, various manufacturers, RCBS, Lee, Lyman, Blue Point. I mean, the options out there for presses are large, and you have many different options. Then you're going to need a reloading die set for whatever caliber you're using. 30-06, 308, 223, 9mm, 45 ACP, 357. Pick your poison. You are going to need a specific die set to reload that cartridge. You're going to need a powder scale. You need a powder scale to weigh your powder charges. Primarily it's out of safety, but if you're a precision shooter, you're hand weighing or you're weighing each and every powder charge to ensure consistency. So you're going to need a scale of some sort. You're going to need a powder dispensing or metering device. Sometimes you can buy the scale and the metering device incorporated into one. Sometimes they're two separates. Just various ways of doing it, but you will need some way to dispense powder into your casings. You're going to need a way to replace the primers. Once you've run the cartridge through the dies, the spent casing through the dies, and you've knocked out the old primer, you're going to have a way to push in a new one, quite obviously. There's a very specific tool to do that. You're going to need some case prep tools. You're going to need to be able to clean the cases, chamfer the case mouths, clean out primer pockets. You're going to need to prepare those cases and get them ready to be reloaded into a usable piece of ammunition. And part of that case prep, and I'm putting this as a tool of itself because of its importance, is a case trimmer of some sort. And there's a few different options out there. I'm not going to enumerate them here, but you're going to need some way to trim your cases because it is a fact that over the course of time and the number of firings of rifle ammunition cases, they will stretch. And you have to trim them down. There is a maximum case length that you can have for every cartridge ammunition. And if it's too long, you can actually fail your firearm due to high pressures. What happens is when the case gets too long and when you close the action and it shoves that round of ammunition into the chamber, especially if you have like a bolt action or a pump or a lever and you can literally force them into the chamber, you could cause that case mouth to clamp onto that bullet even harder than what you did when you reloaded that ammunition, causing excessively high pressures and possibly failure of your firearm, personal injury, death, and all kinds of good things happen when that happens. So you need a case trimming tool. Do not bypass that step. I can't trim my cases, or at least check my cases, every time I reload. What I'm not going to go over here is how to use these items. If I do that, YouTube will basically demonetize this channel. I'll get a strike against me, and then put my channel in jeopardy. So I'm not going to go over how to use these things. There's plenty of resource material out there how to do it, but those are the basic things that you need to get started. Now let's talk equipment a little bit. I like to say there's basically three schools of thought when it comes to reloading equipment. Each one of those schools of thought has its own unique set of advantages, disadvantages, and obviously price range. So the first school of thought I like to think of is what I call survival mode. When you obtain just enough equipment to get the job done. This is obviously going to be the least expensive and least complex way to reload ammunition, but it's going to get the job done at the end of the day. And you are going to be able to make a very good quality piece of reloaded ammunition. What's going to suffer is your versatility. It's not going to have the flexibility that a lot of people would want, or that some people would want in their reloading equipment. Now, if you're reloading ammunition on survival mode or just out of necessity for no other reason, you can get away pretty much on the cheap and get that done. Lee is making a product called the Classic Lee Loader. This is the epitome of survival mode reloading. Currently, they're still making them. They have 6 pistol and 9 rifle cartridges, which are in common use as of today. And they are making the Classic Lee Loader for those cartridges specifically. You can go on the website. You can take a look at it. It's got everything you need to reload one specific cartridge in one portable little package. Very, very compact, very, very easy to store, very cost effective. The only thing you need to provide is your consumables and a rubber hammer, and you're reloading ammunition. You can even find some vintage sets like this one right here. You can see this is an older box. This is an old Lee reloader. And again, I'm going to refer you to the 253,000 Savage, a caliber or chambering I really like, and that's what this set is. This is actually how I got my feet wet, if you will, in the reloading game. 250 3000 Savage is difficult to find, has been for quite some time now. And so I started reloading with this just so I could have ammunition for that gun to shoot. Very, very basic, very, very rudimentary, but it gets the job done and it ensures that I can still shoot that rifle. And I actually have another one here in 30-06 for when zombie apocalypse comes, so I can reload for at least 2 types of ammunition using my Lee loader sets. You can buy these sets for about 40 bucks. They will reload a very quality piece of ammunition. Now again, I'm not going to demonstrate how to use these. YouTube doesn't like it when you show how to make ammunition, but there is a channel out there called Gavintoob on the YouTube platform. They've got a video entitled Caveman Reloading. YouTube has already demonetized it, and they go over it step by step how to use a Lee loader. And it's very, very thorough, and it's very intuitive. I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I'm going to refer you to Gavintoob and that specific video if you want to learn how to use this. This is a great way to get started. They've done a really good job of putting that video together. I encourage you to go over. I will put the link in the description down below. It's a very well done video. The next school of thought is the completely opposite extreme, and I call it the go big concept. This would be for somebody who is, if you're just starting out, you are 100% sure that you want to go all in on this reloading thing. And you want to go down this rabbit hole of reloading. And I am here to tell you it is a rabbit hole. You can get so in depth and you can get so in the weeds on this reloading stuff. It's amazing what you can do with it. And it really ultimately just depends on what your pocketbook will allow. It really is. And how much you're willing to spend on it. You know what? I'm not here to judge. You spend as much as you want on reloading. You all know me. I'm a cheapskate. I try to get by as minimally as I can with as far as what cost comes to. But if you're all in on this thing, go all in. Go big or go home. And this is really for what I would say would be like the precision shooters or competition shooters or guys that are really into this kind of thing. Hand loading is as technically advanced as anything that you would get from factory produced ammunition with a much higher quality control. And a lot of hand loaders that go over this route, like I said, are in some level of competition or they do some level of precision shooting because they can make so much of a higher quality piece of ammunition than what you can get out of the factory. Even the so-called match loads, if you will, you can do it much better in your own home. And so if this is something that you're going to want to do, you're going to want to probably spend the money for good reloading equipment to get that job done. Hand loading is more oftentimes than not able to produce better ammunition than anything that you can get out of the factory. The other types of reloaders or hand loaders that are going to use this kind of approach are those that shoot a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean thousands of rounds of ammunition. 3-gun competition shooters, cowboy action shooters, guys that just like to go to the range and shoot. I mean, there's all sorts. But if you're shooting large quantities of ammunition because you enjoy it, YouTube content creators, a lot of those guys reload because they shoot a lot of ammunition. And if they don't get a sponsor to provide them with ammunition, they're going to make their own. You can buy equipment that can produce mass quantities of ammunition. And it's all affordable and it's all able to be done in your home. It will largely automate a lot of the processes that you need to actually reload a completed piece of ammunition. And this approach will actually start to realize a fair bit of ammunition savings if you shoot enough to justify it. Because you can make ammunition less expensively than what you can buy it once the equipment is paid for. Now, let's talk about keeping it real, because that's what I call the rest of us, keeping it real. The average hand loader is what I call the rest of us. These are the people that, you know, they want to save some cash. I mean, everybody wants to save some cash, and you can do that with hand loading your own ammunition. And they want something better than what they can get from the factory for target shooting or hunting or whatever. Or you want to reload that ammunition that is extraordinarily hard to find or possibly even obsolete or as a wildcat, so that reloading is the only option that you have. If this is your situation, you can actually get into hand loading pretty inexpensively and still produce some very high quality ammunition. There are some very good reloading sets out there that you can buy from anywhere from $200 to $500, and you get everything you need in one box to get you started. Case in point, the Lee Anniversary Reloading Set. Now, I told you I got my feet wet using the classic Lee loader. That's when I found out about the Lee Anniversary Reloading Kit. And if you look in the back here, you can see I have a Lee press. I bought that press years ago, and I'm still using it to this day. There's nothing wrong with it. I paid less than $200 for the Anniversary Reloading Set, and with a few very minimal upgrades, I've added very little to that set, and I'm still producing ammunition that consistently provides me with sub-MOA groups. And as long as the consumables are available, I have ammunition to shoot. Now, there's going to be some YouTube creators out there that don't agree with me on this. They'll say you should spend anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to get started, just simply because if you do find out that you like reloading, or if you're going to continue to reloading at some point in time, it's very possible you're just going to upgrade your equipment that you got in your basic set. And there's some validity to that. I'm not going to say there isn't. But if you make up your mind that, hey, I just want to produce ammunition that I can't buy, or I just want to produce some ammunition, and you're not going to get all in on this thing, you can very easily get by on $300 or less to get yourself going into reloading. I have made very few upgrades to this system. I've upgraded my primer pocket system or my primer seating system on this set, and I do use a digital scale on occasion to measure, but I really don't need to. I haven't had to do a lot of upgrades to this, and it's been producing ammunition since, well, the early 2000s. So over 20 years, I've been using this set, and it works just fine. In my opinion, if you're not 100% certain that you want to do this reloading thing, I think you're actually possibly going to waste money by spending a ton of it and then finding out you really don't like doing it, and then you've got all this money invested in equipment, and what do you do with it? It sits in your basement, it's going to collect dust, or you have to try and turn around and resell it. I'm here to tell you, reloading equipment does not hold its resale value very well at all. I personally reload for one very specific reason, and that's availability. I started reloading because of availability. Now, I mentioned the 253,000 Savage. That ammunition is extremely hard to find, very hard to find. 303 Savage, that ammunition's obsolete. There is nobody producing 303 Savage ammunition anymore. So my only option is to reload spent casings that I have, or to make the ammunition myself. Then I've got a few Wildcats. Case in point, my 243 Ackley. I have to reload ammunition for that. I have a 30 Gib. I have to make ammunition from that. I actually make that ammunition out of 35 Wayland brass. Run it through a series of stepping dies, and I make 30 Gib ammunition. That's what you have to do if I want to shoot that rifle. Now, you could say, well, why do you have such a strange rifle? Because you don't. That's why. I like weird calibers. That's just the way I am. Sue me. At the end of the day, you really have to determine for yourself if reloading is something you want to try, and if it's something you're willing to invest in to get started and continue to do. I enjoy reloading for several reasons. I also have very realistic expectations. I have no delusions of grandeur whatsoever in being some precision shooter who's trying to engage targets a mile away, and I have to produce the ammunition that's going to do that. I have no concepts of me being the next PRS champion, and I have absolutely nothing to prove on the range. I simply want to have ammunition to shoot for the guns that I currently have, and I want to turn out a quality piece of ammunition that I can hunt with. And so regardless of why you want to reload, it only matters what you think and what you hope to accomplish. Now, with all that, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I hope I at least put some thoughts into your head as to why maybe you want to reload, or maybe you don't want to reload. I mean, maybe this was a deterrent for some of you, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that either. Nobody's going to think anything less of you, and if they do, tell them to pound sand, because it only matters at the end of the day what you think. With that, this is Ed from Jack of All Trades. Hey, as always, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching this video. Do me the solid. Hit that like and subscribe button down below. Hit me with those comments in the comment section. You got any questions whatsoever? I love interacting with my viewers in the comment section. It's part of why I do this, because I just enjoy that kind of thing. As always, thank you for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video.